welcome to the Step Stories podcast. I'm your host, Robin Breuner, and I'm here today with my guest, Patrick Giancomo. We were just talking about how to pronounce it properly, the American way or the Italian way. But hi, Pat.
Hey, Robin. Happy
How are you?
Thursday. I'm good,
Happy
good, good.
Thursday.
Friday, Friday Eve, as I call it.
Friday Eve and a week till Thanksgiving. So
True.
holidays are upon us, which is
Too true.
great. Pat and I first connected over our love of dogs, I think. I was thinking about
Yeah,
this last night.
for sure.
And
Definitely.
Pat, I had a golden retriever who was my beloved golden retriever, Chloe, who, when I met Pat, she had cancer. She was
Yeah.
7, and I was driving her to Sacramento, 2 hours away once a week to get radiation. Anyway, I was just trying everything I could to cure her. And in the meantime, Pat got a puppy, a beautiful little golden named Summer. And Chloe passed shortly after that. And I really wanted to have another golden to play with Summer. And so I will fast forward my story because this part's not so great, but we got a little golden Lily who ate a poison mushroom, actually. And so Pat knew me through that terrible time. And I'm just here to say too, anybody at this time of year with rain, and please watch out for mushrooms because these little dogs, yeah, it's not good. But anyway, now we have another beautiful one named Luna, who sometimes comes on the podcast and barks. But now Pat and I were trying to get Luna and Summer to be best buds. They're like little kids. And
True.
so anyway, that's how I know Pat. And I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Happy to help.
And
What's a great topic?
it is a great topic. And to be honest, so I have seen Pat interacting with his 3 grown daughters. And I think I said to him one day, "You're such a great dad." And he said, "I'm actually not their dad. I'm their stepdad." And I said, "What?" I couldn't believe it. It doesn't matter, but he seems so natural. And so that's why I thought to ask Pat to come on to talk about his history and how he came to be the father of 3 little girls, a stepfather, father. And so here we are. And I want to talk about you. And first of all, let's talk about who
Sweet.
who you are today before we go to the backstory.
Well, how much do you want me to disclose here?
Whatever you want.
I'm originally from Louisiana. Went to LSU, spent 18, 20 years in Atlanta, Georgia, and then moved here about 18 years ago with Katie, my wife, and got introduced to the girls. The youngest was 3, Emily. Oldest at that time was 13. And I don't know, we spent a lot of time debating the best way to have our life together. And ultimately, short story, real quick.
No,
The
don't make it a
girls,
short story. We want to make it a long story.
well, the girls finally said, "What do we call you?" And we'd been dating for 8 years, and they finally said, we want to call you like our dad." And it kind of forced us to, I would say forced us to get married, but that was kind of the impetus that said we should get married. And so just a very short story on that, but there's a lot more under the covers here. I'm sure we'll disclose.
Yeah. Yes. Well, tell me what it was like growing up in Louisiana. I've never been, and I think I've told you I'm just dying to go. What was
Well,
that like?
it's small town, USA. I grew up in the town, about 50,000 people. And it's, I all walked around. We all played sports. We played football, played baseball. My sister ran track. She's a really good track star. But it was very much a rural area. My dad worked for the Department of Agriculture. My mom was an accountant, and then she decided to raise the kids. So I had a mom at home all the time. But it was just small town USA. Great place to grow up. And of course, when I got out of college, I left. So it was the stepping stone for me for sure.
Where'd you go?
After I graduated from LSU, I went to Atlanta. A lot of people in the South, in the late '80s found Atlanta as a great place to move to. There are a lot of young people there. There's a lot of business, of course, hiring at that time. It still is. Atlanta has grown so fast. But it was a really good place to kind of grow up, so to speak, after college.
It is a great place. I've been there. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you were in Atlanta. You
Yeah.
told me you were married. You were married before, right?
I was. Yeah, I was married to a woman for 8 years. We um, we tried to have kids, didn't work. We ended up ultimately getting divorced. She's no longer with us. She unfortunately died several years ago. Um, but I grew up in Atlanta like as an adult. I mean, of course, I was older when I moved there, but uh, just living in Atlanta and growing up as an adult and working at different companies. Ultimately, I worked at Microsoft, which is really where I met Katie.
And so what was going on with Katie when you met her?
We met. We were both leaders on a management team. She was she was married, of course. Had two kids at the time, and when I'd left Microsoft for about a year. Actually stayed at Microsoft, went to a different city and worked. And then I came back after about a year and saw her in a yoga class. And I had got divorced. And I said, Katie, oh my God, it's been such a long time since I've seen you. And she said, I'm eventually going to be moving back to California. I'm like, why, what's going on? She says, well, I'm getting divorced. And so, I don't know, we hit it up, had wheatgrass shooters after yoga, and then I said, "Hey, do you wanna go have dinner?" And she goes, yeah, but let me see if my sitter can stay more time with the kids." And she did, and we just started having a really nice friendship, um, knowing, of course, all that time that she was gonna be moving back to California.
Did you get to know her girls then?
A little bit, not a lot. I mean, at that time, it was still very important because, Katie was going through the divorce. She wasn't divorced yet, and so we didn't it's not like we were dating. So I didn't really I'd met the kids at, like, events, like Microsoft events and things like that, but, I really didn't spend a lot of time, at the house or anything like that.
So she moved back to the Bay Area, and
Yeah.
what happened? You had a long
Uh,
distance relationship?
yeah, guess you're spot on, yeah. I stayed in Atlanta. She would travel, we would meet, go skiing, or I'd go and visit. I met her mom, who was still an amazing woman. She was very much uh, welcoming, and it was such a nice experience meeting her mom. And then I met, of course, her sister and her kids a little bit more, and it just became very apparent to me that this is a direction I wanted to go. There was a lot of steps before we would go anyplace else with the relationship, but we did date long term. Ultimately, we really enjoyed our company, and I said to Katie that, look, if this is going to go anyplace, we really need to be in the same town, same city, and so I made the decision to leave Microsoft and go to work with another company in at the Bay Area.
So you moved here, and how did that feel moving from the South to
Wow.
San Francisco, California?
That's crazy. It's funny when growing up, I always remember watching movies about California or seeing, just ads of people living in California. I'm like, oh my God, I want to live in California one day. And so I had always wanted to do that anyway. And it just felt real. It just felt like the right thing to do. And I'm like, well, I really was getting kind of to a point in my career I was going to move. I had an offer with Microsoft to go to work in Denver or Baltimore. And so I had that opportunity to go, but I decided not to.
Hmm.
I just wanted to see, if there was something else there with Katie and I.
I always also wanted to live in California, being from the Midwest, and same thing, the TV shows, the ads. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm a water kind of a gal and mountain kind of a person, and, so California was sort of the ultimate growing up for me. Um, well, where were the girls' father at that time, or where is he?
He ended up moving to St. Louis, which is where his parents are from, and so he was not really, physically around very often. He definitely called the girls and things like that, but he was kind of not checked out, but really not involved in the day to day activities of the kids, getting them to school or, helping them with homework because he just physically wasn't there. And then Katie, of course, had her parents and she with a lot more support back in San Francisco Bay Area. It just made much more sense for her to move logically, because there's so much more support.
Well, so, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is to talk about, how it felt to have this relationship and this mother with 3 daughters, and here you come, you haven't been a parent before. You had a younger sister, which may
Yeah,
have, I'm guessing, helped prepare you a little bit for what
yeah.
it's like with girls growing up, but that's a big thing to take on, 3 girls. And how did
Hmm.
you so did what did you think about that? Did you just sort of, it sounds like you put a lot of thought and you didn't just jump into this blindly. You took it slowly, but how did you do it? What were your philosophies?
Well, we were very strategic with my involvement with the girls. Early on, we talked about Sarah, who's the oldest. Me being more of a person that she could go to if she needed to, but as a friend. This is like as the relationship really developed. And then with the little ones, we call the little ones, uh, maybe I could be a parent to them, maybe. Because as I learned early on, just because you're in the role of a parent, it doesn't mean you're looked upon as a parent. And definitely takes time in the saddle. It's almost like a rite of passage. There's certain things you have to go through with
Like what?
raising kids, like being there every day, helping them with their homework, or being there in the morning to make their lunches for school, taking them to school, going to their games, just being there, showing up. And I think that was a lot of what I learned is that it just doesn't happen overnight. Um, and so we kind of took things really slow.
Well, that's smart, and I think, I think that that's smart. Um, how did you take each girl individually and try to get to know them? I mean, the little ones were really little, right? 3 and how old? 6 or
6, 3 and
yeah.
6, yeah.
So, I imagine particularly for them, it was very much more natural, maybe harder for an older daughter, and I say this from experience being the oldest daughter of 3, having stepmothers come in, and, I know I wasn't the easiest. I had a lot of opinions at that point, at that age, and, so how did you make a connection with each of the girls? What did you
Well,
do? Do
yeah,
you have any stories
yeah,
about
oh,
any
I
of that?
do. I'll tell a funny one, and I'll say another one in a little bit. But I would say to answer your question though, we didn't live together, so it made it a little bit more difficult to get to know them individually. So like both of them, they did play sports, and I was really into sports, participating, and so I would show up. I would be there watching them and giving them advice if they wanted it. And so to me, it was just being there every day. Frankly, every day I would show up for help them with their homework or get their food ready for breakfast or lunch and things like that. So it just taking time, and then there's opportunities where I would go pick up Emily at school or things like that, and just we'd go get we'd go get French fries is one of the things that we share. We love French fries, both of us. So we'd go, and Katie didn't know this. We'd go have French fries, before we'd go home, just like a snack after like a soccer game or soccer practice or something like that. But I remember with with Emily, the first time I remember
Emily
almost
was the little
saying
one.
the little one, yeah, she's the
Yep.
youngest. But I remember she was about, she was probably 4, and we were at this party. So I had already moved back here. Oh no, I hadn't moved here. I was just visiting, and we were at this party, a family thing, a bunch of different families, and I heard Emily in the distance saying, "Mom, Mom," and so I was like, "Well, I don't see Katie," so I'm like, Emily was in the restroom, and I was like, "Emily, what do you need, hon?" And, whatever. She goes, "I need Mom." I'm like, "Well, she's not here. What can I do?" And she says, "Can you wipe my butt?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." So I'm like, Okay, I guess so." And so that was when I knew I was a parent, or sort of a parent. It's like I checked the box. Okay,
You
that
check
was
that
it.
box.
I checked that box. It's like, all right, that's if this is what it means. I'm here. I'm all in. I'm all in. So it's a quick show. She's gonna kill me when she hears that I said this, but oh well. I'm gonna use this story as well when she gets married, so she'll
You
hear it
should.
again. I will.
I
Yeah.
I have a picture, my son would kill me too, of my son in a little, bathtub thingy for babies, and he's peeing, and I always said, "I'm gonna show this at your wedding," and he did get married, and I didn't do it to him. I used to threaten him that I was gonna show that picture, and
Well, you have to show
anyway.
it to his kids one day.
Yes, yes, I will do that for sure. Well, one thing that struck me, that was really awesome of you is that you weren't living with the family at that time, and you told me you would drive over there and make them breakfast and get them ready for school, like you just said, but I wanna point out, you weren't coming downstairs to do that. You were driving there in the morning to make sure you were there to help them
Yeah.
get off to school, which is really admirable. Oh, that's really an amazing thing.
Well, you have to show up, right? I mean, it's for me, this just wasn't a part-time thing for me. If I was going to be involved in Katie's life, I was going to be involved in her entire life. I mean, you
Mhm.
just don't get to choose because the family comes with it. And so I just like, well, look, if I'm going to learn how to be a parent, I can't just do it every now and then. It's got to be something you do every day.
Mhm.
And I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but um, you got to have those mistakes to learn. So I wanted to be in. I was all in.
Well, I think those girls are very lucky too that their mom
I
let
am
you, and your
too.
mom's
I
lucky.
mean, I'm very lucky. I mean, that they accepted me.
Mhm.
I mean, they could have been. I mean, honestly, I didn't have. Well, I did have a couple of times said, "Yeah, you're not my dad," that kind of thing. But not very often. If very few. And so they were very accepting, and I think they were very accepting because they would see their grandmother, who was very accepting. They would see their aunt, who was very accepting of me being part of the family. We'd go on vacations together, and that made it really helpful to get to know the kids as well. And not only them, but Katie's sister is very close to, they're very close, and the family is very close. And we would always do vacations with them. So we'd travel in a clan of like 10 or 11 of us, 11 or 12 of us actually. And, it's part of living with a big group of people. You get to know each other a lot. So,
Definitely, and that's such a blessing, honestly, to have
oh,
that.
absolutely.
Do you ever take, the girls back to Louisiana to see your family? Is your family still there?
My parents are gone.
Mm.
My sister still lives there, but early on, before my dad died, they did get to meet my dad. We took Emily, probably was at that time 5 or 6, and I took them back. We came in late one night, and I had this plantation I wanted them to stay in, and it was a haunted plantation.
Oh.
Like, there's been people say it's really haunted. So they freaked out. We went to this plantation because he was on the way to my parents' house, and that was their introduction to being in Louisiana, was in a haunted plantation. That was their first thing. And then we took them for a crawfish boil. We had crawfish boil at my parents' house, the traditional thing you do when you're in Louisiana. So
That sounds fabulous. So the trip was good.
it was good. It was
Yeah.
good. We didn't make very many trips. I mean, it was
Mhm.
kind of a special trip for me because I think it was Father's Day. I think shortly after that, my dad got Parkinson's disease,
Mm.
and it was pretty unfortunately, when, as you know, that's not a good, doesn't go well. So,
Yeah. Well, I have to say that brought to mind a story, one of my step stories related to haunted hotels. When I was a young teenager, I had my stepmother and I had a younger sister and a younger brother, and then I had a stepbrother through my stepmother. And so we all came to San Francisco, ironically, and I really wanted to go to California. I was so excited to go to the California of, beaches and Disneyland and all those things. We went to San Francisco where it was freezing and foggy in the summer, miserable. And I had seen a drive-in horror film the night before we left. And so my father had booked this Victorian mansion that's a hotel that I think is still around in Pacific Heights for us to stay. And they put my sister and I down the hall from my father and my stepmother, and then my little brother and the little brother stepbrother were in another room. Anyway, long story short, I convinced the movie I'd seen was about some horrible innkeeper that chopped up her guests and served them
oh my God.
for dinner. And I was convinced, my sister and I convinced my sister that that was going to happen to us. And we were running down the hall, banging on my parents' door. My brothers were fighting. And this was, one of those
Oh my God.
terrible vacations where my stepmother and my father, it was like they were wondering what the hell they had done. So anyway, that
It
reminded
sounds
me of
like
my step story.
it sounds like it was a horror film in itself
It
through
was a
your
horror
experience.
film vacation. That is for sure. It's remarkable I decided to move to San Francisco.
Oh God.
Anyway, enough about me, but, so what else? So when you finally got married, were the girls happy?
Yeah, they cried. We cried. It was a great, I don't know, great day, and several days leading up to it. They of course had their hair done, and they had these really pretty dresses, and they were of course involved in the wedding, and gave toast. It was magical. We got married up in Napa.
Mm.
Um, this
How old were the
beautiful.
girls by then?
So we've been married for 10 years.
Mhm.
So Emily is now 21, so she was 11, right? So, um, yeah, so she was the youngest. Molly would have been 14, 15, and then Sarah was 20. She's in her 20s, 21.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a great day. It was funny because it was so beautiful. The weather was amazing. And at 10 o'clock, which is when we had to leave this particular facility, it started raining. And everyone was leaving, and it was just completely created this not dead, it's not the right word. It's this complete, like, okay, it's done. The wedding's over. Everyone needs to go, and it starts raining. It was kind of a amazing way to end the wedding day, but it was so nice. But my family had come in, and we, got hotels all nearby up in Napa. It's very magical, and I still just have so many great memories around it. I don't even need to look at the pictures, and it's such a great memory on it.
Mm. And so now you guys have this happy family. Is their father still involved in their lives? It seems like, you've got this cohesive life now, and how does that work for the girls?
I think the girls, I mean, I can't speak for them, but
Mhm,
I think, since they're adults now, they each have really a different relationship with their dad.
mhm,
And sometimes one of them will probably reach out more often than the other ones, and so, each one has kinda developed their own relationship with him, but I don't know how often he calls them. They don't It's not something we really ask them about. It's kind of their own special thing with their dad, so it's kind of completely separate,
Mhm.
especially geographically wise. He's just he lives in the middle of the country, so
I'm just thinking about all of this, and I'm thinking about people listening.
uh-huh.
And again, for me, I'm really fascinated by you and how you came into this family and were a success. I think because for me, I really have always seen everything through the eyes of a stepchild, stepdaughter. And I'm really trying to educate myself and gain more empathy for the other side of things. And certainly I'm a parent, but as a step parent coming in and how you handle that. And I'm just wondering if you have just any more fun stories you might want to share about rocky times with that and how you overcame them. Yeah, that's probably what I'd like to ask.
I mean, there's a lot of stories. I mean, spending that much time with people, you definitely have stories.
Of course.
I mean, there was some stories where right after we got engaged, Sarah was going off to college, and we thought that would be a good time for me to move in right before we get married, and I did, and I became a little bit like, oh, now I'm the father of the family. Um, and I expected to have this immediate respect. And even though I'd been with the girls for a long time, participated in their lives, they still weren't, and nor should they be forced to say that I was their dad, and we really didn't talk about being a stepdad mostly.
Mm.
We just talked about me being a father figure, because Molly used to say, nature versus nurture. And, of course, I was the nurturer because nature, I wasn't their biological dad, but definitely was there for them every day. And so I made some mistakes when we first decided for me to move in, that I would have this, I'm the dad, I'm the father figure, I'm the person now that has the authority. When I didn't. I made some big mistakes on that perspective and learned, very quickly that even though I'd been around for a really long time with the girls, it just didn't come overnight for me to be their dad. And we didn't really force the idea of me being called their dad either. For me, it was like, if you want to call me Pat, call me Pat. If you want to call me Poppy, which was sometimes the girls call me Poppy, you call me Poppy. And we didn't think that the name or the title was really needed to be forced,
Mhm.
because I just wanted to be part of their lives, and it didn't need to have a title per se. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes very much sense to me because I had it kind of forced on me and it didn't go well. And what I'm hearing is you're coming from such a genuine place. You really truly wanted to make it about them and not all about you. And I do think
Sure.
again, just from my own experience and from talking to enough people, I think that that is the way to success. And that's hard because you have a woman you're in love with. A lot of people want to make it about just about the couple, and the kids are sort of just come along. You
Yeah.
genuinely want it to be a part of their lives and be this person for them. So that comes out, and that to me is how you found your way to success.
Well, and there's success comes in, small little pieces along the way.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's important to recognize those successes because, yeah, along the way, there's also disappointments. And so you just have to keep staying ahead of going down the track of, "Oh, everything's terrible." It wasn't. There's some days that are better than the others. Most days are the best. But I think you still have to remember how far we've come with the kids and just appreciate that too. And, they were very accepting for me as a person too. I mean, I
Mhm.
came from a very strong family where both my parents were very active in parenting, and my dad, being Italian, was really there's huge egos, right? And so I learned that, but I had to unlearn it a lot with what I was doing with the girls. I couldn't be at this authoritative person. I had to be more loving, caring, and understanding, and that was difficult, but we all can learn if we're willing to, and that's what I was just willing to try,
Hmm.
you know?
I think that I had somebody else, named Michelle Bennett on the show who's, a stepmother, and one of the things that she said that I will never forget is it's really hard, but you have to take your ego out of it
Mhm.
because, that seems to me a key. When you're able to take your ego out of it, you're able to, I think, be more present for the kids, and I'm wondering to myself if Katie'd had 3 boys, how that would have worked as far as being, modeling your father being a little more authoritative. I wonder if you would have, I just what do you think? How do you think that would have been different?
I don't know because when I mean, with boys, I because I didn't raise boys, but, maybe there's an opportunity to be a little more, like, not fighting, but goofing off in a physical way, right?
Yeah,
Wrestling and things like that, but I I wrestled with the girls. We would have those type of fun wrestling moments or throwing them up in the air and things like that, and
yeah.
I used to do push-ups, and they would be lying on my back while I was doing push-ups, and so, yeah, there was I don't know if it'd been any different with boys, maybe a little, I don't know, but yeah, I did recognize that, that at a certain point, you can only be so physical with kids, and
Yeah.
regardless of whether boys or girls. So definitely, my softer side was developed for sure, for sure.
How
So,
did what did your sister think about that? Just out of curiosity.
well, my sister is very underspoken, but when she speaks, you listen to her, and she saw how much I cared for the girls. And she saw because she was at the wedding, of course, and she saw the kids before, and she saw how much I was having a good time, and she just wanted what was the best for me.
Mhm.
And she's an amazing woman and super smart, um, but she was very careful and watched what how I spent time with the girls. So
Interesting. Well, I'm sure that, like I said earlier, that relationship with her being a big brother and being so close in age must have given you some kind of insight into
absolutely.
growing up with girls.
Yeah, well,
Mm.
she had 2 kids, or she has 2 kids. One's a boy, one's a girl. The girl, I'm her godfather, so Heather, and so I've spent some time with them, a little bit of time growing up. I was, in Atlanta, they were in Louisiana, and that her husband was in the military, so they traveled around a lot, and so I did get to see them a good bit of time. Holidays, yes, but, they were stationed in different parts of the country, so we didn't see them, all the time.
Hmm. Well, tell me, because we're getting closer to the end, a little bit more about you, Patrick, because all we've talked about is you, Patrick,
No, I don't
as
like talking
the
about myself.
husband and the
No,
dad.
please, no.
No, I know one thing about you, you're an incredible photographer.
Oh, I've been taking yes, I've traveled some really crazy places in the world. As a photographer, I've gone to New Guinea for a month. Came back with amoebas and had to take a bunch of drugs for that. I spent a month in a river going down a river in the Ono Basin, which was in Ethiopia. We spent a month there. I've spent a month down in Argentina taking pictures. So I've had some really amazing experiences as a photographer. Now, I was never a full-time photographer. Uh, because I would have been a starving artist for sure. But it definitely helped with my left side of my brain, I guess, the creative side, because my grandfather on my mom's side was a photographer, as far as a novice, of course, and he introduced me to it. Um, yeah, I think actually he bought my first camera, and so I really got into it probably because of him.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You have a website. Do you wanna share it in case anybody listening would like to see your
It's
work?
just my name, patrickgiancomo.com. It's hard to spell, of course, but
It'll be in our show notes. We'll put it in there. So,
there you go. There you go. I
maybe
appreciate it.
you can, yeah, share your art with people a little bit on a broader basis.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
great.
but okay, so we are coming to the end, and I'm
God, it was
just
so fast. Come on,
well, we can
Robin. It's
talk
okay,
some
but
more. Do you wanna share any more stories? Because stories are always fun to hear, like, just stories of, um, you know, the family stories with these kids. I like the ones where it's where you overcome something, if you
Hmm.
have anything.
Well, let's see. We took the girls to a trip to Greece. This was in 2010. Can't remember. I think, yeah, that was 2010. I can't believe I remember that. And the girls would, they were younger, and I remember how tired they were coming off the plane, because it was a long flight and everything. And uh, I remember how tired I was getting off the plane. And I remember that Katie and I looked at each other and we just said, "Well, we got to stay up, really, for the girls. We have to make sure that if they see us like having a bad day, then they're going to have a bad day." So I remember kind of forcing myself to just laugh, or find things that were funny and keep them laughing, because it was difficult the first time. That was a big trip, going to Greece, and it was it was interesting as a sort of a family, because we weren't married then. This was very early on, but we took the opportunity to do this as a couple, to bring the kids on this big trip. And we learned and overcame a lot on that trip. With the girls waking up in the morning saying, "Oh, I don't want to do this." And, we can't force these things. So we just had to be, go with the flow, so to speak, with it all. It was a great trip. We had this book, look at it every now and then. It was a great remembrance.
Well, and I'm listening to this, and, I haven't really asked you about your wife, Katie. Um, I know she is a fantastic mother, and I know she's got a major career,
She
and
does.
travels a lot. And how did Katie handle integrating you into her girl's life? Did she say, "Look, I'm the mom and I'm, the disciplinarian," or, "You're just here to be a father figure, but I'm the one that needs to handle things." Did she like what were her philosophies?
Well, early on, we talked about Katie being, of course, the disciplinarian, and especially with Sarah, and that I would just be the kind of the person who would be there as her friend. Now, there were certain opportunities with the little ones, as we always say, where if they were going off the edge as far as going too far with pushing something, I would, of course, say, especially if I was the only one there, I would say, "Look, wait, you going too far," or, "Hey, don't you think maybe you should rethink what you just said," or something like that. So
It's so calm
I
of
would
you, so mature.
absolutely, I would absolutely be the disciplinarian when it made the right sense.
Mhm.
But if Katie and I were together, Katie would always step forward and do that. I mean, I just didn't think that it was appropriate, especially early on, for me to show that kind of responsibility of disciplinarian. it just didn't make sense, you know? So
I
we just kinda figured out a way to do it, and it worked out fine.
I think that was wise too, because from everything that I've learned, and I think that having the bio parent, be the disciplinarian is usually a good idea. Maybe years on, as you know, now it's a different story, but I think in the beginning, I think that that's what I understand to be to help things go smoothly with the transition. So,
Yeah.
um, well, do you have any other parting thoughts or pieces of wisdom you want to share about this with our audience? Anything that we didn't talk about that you think would be helpful?
I would say just parting, it's be part of their everyday lives. I mean, just don't don't take the opportunity and miss the opportunity because there's a lot of opportunities to be a part of their lives. And so, I mean, if you're in it, you have to be in it. I just didn't think that was really to do it halfway. As long as you and your partner or have an agreement for that because I could not have done that without Katie saying, "Yeah, of course I want you to come over every morning if you're willing to do that. Of course you can come have dinner, make dinner if that's really what you want to do." Which is what I wanted, but I just couldn't just do it. We had to talk about it.
Right.
There was opportunities for us to have go to a vacation together. I wanted to go, but it had to get kind of like Katie needs to make sure she's involved too with that decision. I just can't assume it. So you kind of check yourself at the door when you walk in, because kids are looking for anything that they can see that things are not the right thing for the couple. Like if they saw me and Katie disagreeing a lot, that's not a good thing. And so we really kept a lot of that away if we disagreed with something and had our own time to discuss it. It just wasn't important. Now, it was really good to have when we talked about things and worked through problems for the kids to see that, how we broke down things and really solved the problem together. We really were conscious about making sure we were showing that kind of maturity and the ways that we work through issues together. So I
That's
think
smart.
that would be the last thing I would probably say about it.
That's very wise and mature. And I love that. I really do. And well, is there what's next for you in the girls' lives? Anything exciting coming up with them?
Well, I mean, the girls are getting older, so there's always that chance that they may be getting married in a couple of years. We'll see. I
Oh,
mean, that's always, of course, on our
hope
minds.
so.
The big thing next, of course, is Thanksgiving. They always come home for Thanksgiving, and I cook, and everyone comes over, and so it's a good time. So we're looking forward to next week for sure.
You are just the model
I don't
man,
know.
Pat. You really are. I gotta
Uh,
say, Katie, you did good. Uh,
oh.
anyway, yes, of course, the Italian and French guy cooks. Yeah, you told me your dad taught you to cook, right?
My dad and my mom, yeah.
And your mom.
And my mom, yeah. She was French or Cajun, so I learned how to make, gumbo and etouffee and shrimp creole, and then my dad was Italian, so I made all the Italian dishes too. So, yeah. But the family had some definitely some cooks in the family for sure. We
I'm
had some
inviting myself
restaurants.
over for dinner, please.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Uh, I always make extra.
Anyway, Patrick, thank you so much for being here today. I
Happy to.
really, really appreciate it. It was a great conversation.
I enjoyed it.
And I really think what you had to say is going to touch somebody listening. You had so many great, just I people don't like the word advice, but you had a lot of great examples to share, and so I do hope it helps to improve some families out there that are looking for it. And I will see you on the cul-de-sac with our
Oh,
doggies.
for sure.
All right.
Definitely. All right.
Thanks again.
Ciao.
Bye.